Hi, everyone. So, as I sort of talk about things that we're looking at, I wanted to sort of set some context as we get into it. If you get into the next slide, please. So, I want to introduce these 5 platform pillars as a way to build our story. And some of you might have seen a variation of the slide, but this is how internally we view our product areas and work on innovating each. We'll walk you through one, audience analytics and insights, and our plan to better understand user behavior and interest. 2, our powerful segmentation engine to better identify user groups. 3, our automation layer that runs with little or no human intervention. 4, a framework for experimentation, a new area where we've been spending more energy these days. 5, and an engine for optimizing customer delight across the customer lifecycle. So I'll start with analytics and insights first. So this is the foundation of our platform to do anything. From day one, we've believed in real-time actionable insights, and it is one of our core tenets that has allowed for us to be valuable to our customers. And frankly, it has helped us differentiate from our competitors. It's a crowded space. And like Sunil had mentioned, we are one of very few who sort of do both of these things together real time. As the platform exists right now, we provide a Swiss Army knife of tools. What you see on the gray box on the left, you see that we're providing ways to track your funnel. We have a cohort. You can cohort your users. You can understand trends. The idea is that you learn from the activities of what your user does and build a persona from that you can act upon. Through your product, the intention is like, how do you tell your driver where the demand is strongest, or how do you figure out the conversion rate of users to define somebody as a foodie, or how do you sort of assign what are the user's favorite cuisine as part of the user profile, or what is the behavior of users who don't use a certain feature, or worst case, even uninstall your app. How do you analyze this behavior? This is what we provide right now. By the way, on the topic of uninstalling, this quarter, we're also building real-time uninstall tracking. You should get that very soon. This is meant for Android users. So you can run very targeted campaign at the moment the user uninstalls the app. But where we're really going is to audience intelligence. How do you build a 360-degree profile view of user that feeds from social media, from offline use behavior, from point-of-sale devices? Basically, how do you sort of enrich the user profile through a variety of these sources which are outside your app ecosystem? In addition, we want the app itself to contribute. Like, this is where we can do data crunching on your behalf. This is what we're building. We're also building configurators so that you can set business rules that can set self-computed elements on user profile. These computed elements can be rule-based. For example, you can set customer type as gold on 50th ride, just as an example, or it can be AI-based. Again, for example, that you can set as profile variable through AI that this person has propensity to order food delivery on a given day. Our system can do that. The overall theme is that we're moving from tools for analytics that you see on the left to platform for insights that you see on the right that you can use to better drive actions for each individual user. So once you have some sense of analysis, next up is segmentation. So the idea is that only if you can break your users into smaller microsegments can you action effectively. This is where we already are the strongest. We currently offer psychographic, find me users like this other group of users, or behavioral based on past actions, or live for when the user is live on your app. Sunil mentioned some examples. You're at the airport, you want the notification to come then. Or intent-based to maximize or minimize a goal. For example, find users who are most likely to churn and maybe offer them a special incentive to re-engage. And then we also have RFM, which is really an example of where we're going. So currently RFM uses a standard framework. It's a classic model of recency, frequency, and monetization, where we pre-segment the users and we give you who your champion users are we tell you what are the users who are at risk of churning. And this is where we see ourselves growing into. That is, we want to learn more complex business rules derived not just from transactional information, but context through their browsing behavior, through life cycle stage, and affinity towards certain actions. We understand that each of the business rules will be different. For ride sharing, it is very different than a content consumption app, which is very different than a fintech app. And our AI ML model should tell you the right dimension that you should measure it against. We will provide lookalike audiences. This is a new way to reach new people who are likely to be interested in an action because they're similar to your best existing users of that action at that stage. Just to further elaborate, like RFM or past behavior segment does analysis based on a duration that you specify. You say last 30 days of user data, tell me what the behavior is, versus lookalike audience, which is for a given stage. So you can look at the first time usage of the app, behavior of the users as an audience that you can sort of compare it to. The important point though is that no matter what the action is, we'll give you a tool to plot a bell curve of your best, your worst, and your average user for that action, so that you can see where the user behavior falls and you can do timely interventions for it. For example, you can look at the bell curve of order history to identify user anomalies to detect fraudulent transactions. The next pillar is automation. This is another area where we're very strong. We have triggers that get generated by user or business action. For example, you can initiate a campaign when user does or does not do an action, or when a certain business item that user was interested in is now available for purchase. Imagine a use case where thousands of shows are there in your catalog and millions of users are interested in when the next episode drops for their show. How do you send automatic relevant notifications at scale? You're not going to create 1,000 campaigns, clearly. Where we're going though is we are providing programmatic controls on triggers based on the profile variable updates. And you can make this as simple or as complicated as you want. You can set profile variable when event comes in, or you can batch process this to set profile variables on some business rules at whatever frequency that you want. For example, your customer is rewarded with a free ride because their profile variable was set as a platinum customer when they finished their 100th ride. And the idea again is if you move to user profile and you trigger things, it impacts a lot of areas. It changes everything from segmentation to data sciences as soon as this information is available as part of the profile. And you can imagine the affinity to respond to messages from segmentation here. We're also enhancing our journeys, this time through finer grain control per node, where we can provide best time, best channel, optimized based on how individual users behave. We're also building to allow for scripting and dynamic content to come from webhooks. For example, for apps where the profile of the user and the associated actions happen in different places. The very common online, offline scenario, very true for fintech customers as well. The goal again is to better manage the platform with minimum human intervention. And the fourth pillar, which I had briefly touched upon, experimentation. This is where we've been more recently investing. We realized that to solve the problem of user retention, it was important to provide a very personalized experience both on and off the platform. For off-platform, where you know us more from, we offer experimentation by A/B testing campaigns or messages. But for on-platform, which is more recent for us, is when the user's on your app. We built a platform to A/B test experiences, A/B test screens, to roll out features to control audience through things like feature flags. And we're evolving this. So we're adding testing framework for audience, like the first time user only, or for content, like what copy, what color, what layout works better, and for user journeys. We're building multi-arm bandit testing to find a local optimal winner, where we use machine learning to learn from data gathered during the test to dynamically increase the traffic allocation in favor of better performing variations. We're building for milestone-based experimentation. For example, experiment to get the user to take the first ride, or experiment to increase product searches, or experiments to find out various paths to a purchase. You see some of that already in Lifecycle Optimizer that we recently released, but we're looking to extend this capability. But overall, we're looking at this holistically as well. Currently, you can do experimentation from different sections of the product. Like there's experimentation for campaigns and there's product experiences, which is a section of its own. But what we're looking at is, can we bring experimentation to the core of the product as part of the central place in the user journey of our users? And finally, the last pillar of optimization. The thought here is, now that we've given you 1,000 ways to experiment, how do we help you choose the optimal one? And we do some of it already. You see that we give you out-of-box product recommendation engine. Some of you use it. We have an experimentation framework for user retention through Lifecycle Optimizer. We recently launched a motion detector for content that gets written for campaigns. But where we really want to go, our ideal goal is to be where we can give you prescriptive journeys to encourage users into deeper levels of engagement. And for that, we're building a bunch of stuff. So under content optimization, emotion detection, which is live, is paving way to understanding impact of images and emojis, to how do you optimize subject line and how do you optimize content for higher engagement. We're building for conversion rate optimization. Today, we do conversion rate optimization based on events. For example, you know this, that you have CRO for event for transaction completed. But what we're doing in addition now is we're applying the lens of product or business on top of it. So for example, for food delivery, if the person orders weekend dinners, there is no point fatiguing the user with sort of weekday notifications. And you can compare that to rideshare that maybe gets used more on weekdays for trips to office. So our system should tell you that, will tell you that. In addition to the best time for the user, we're building towards next recommended action for the user that will be available at all points in the time on the platform. And this is where all our forces are coming together. And in an effort to build an assistant for you. Our utopia, like I said, is to provide a prescriptive journey for each individual user to achieve deeper levels of engagement. I hope that gives you a glimpse at our vision and a sneak peek into what's coming up next. A lot of these things that I mentioned are part of the immediate roadmap, and you'll start seeing it. Our frequency of releases, if you get the emails from me, is pretty high. So you'll see a lot of this coming your way very quickly. I wanted to use this, especially these 5 pillars of the way we look at it, to sort of give you a sense of that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, which is what we've always been. So I'll pause here and for announcements for more recent releases, hand it back to Meredith. Thanks again.